Prosecutors will likely use Cohen's testimony to connect the dots between the tawdry tabloid aspects of this case and the actual criminal allegations at the center of the prosecution, the falsification of dozens of business records to cover up the payoff to keep Stormy Daniels quiet. Stormy Daniels, the former adult film actress with whom Trump is alleged to have had an affair, took to the stand last week to testify about her interactions over the years with the former president. Much of that was to his very obvious dissatisfaction. Last week, Trump's attorneys filed not one, but two motions for a mistrial based on Daniels' testimony, both of which were denied by the judge, Juan Merchan. Additionally, at one point, Judge Merchan called for a sidebar to notify the defense that the judge could hear the former president cursing and making comments during Daniels' testimony, actions that the judge said could be contemptuous. Donald Trump continued to make his frustrations known during his campaign rally yesterday in Wildwood, New Jersey. It was at times a bizarre affair, even by Trump's standards. At one point, he veered into a tangent and congratulated the late, great Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter's not a person. Hannibal Lecter is a fictional cannibal from The Silence of the Lambs, a movie. And like many of his other recent rallies, Trump aired out his grievances about his current legal situation. The GOP's twice impeached, four times indicted presumptive presidential nominee continued his attacks against the judges and prosecutors who are involved in his numerous cases. He repeated his baseless accusations that Judge Merchan is, quote, highly conflicted and that this case in Manhattan is, quote, a Biden show trial. Trump even got crude, mocking the Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg and the former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie for their physical appearance. And in a couple of instances, he used expletives in reference to his criminal cases. This sort of language and this sort of behavior has grown increasingly common for Trump as his legal bills and his political troubles have mounted. And there could be more trouble on the way. Just yesterday, the New York Times and ProPublica reported that Trump might owe the IRS more than $100 million. This dispute relates to a dubious accounting method that was used by Trump's company that effectively meant they took the same tax write-offs twice on one of their Chicago properties. Now, if Donald Trump does end up having to pay, this would also add to the hundreds of millions of dollars that Trump already owes in financial penalties as a result of some of his other legal cases, and it could become an item on the former president's list of grievances that he will rant about at his rallies. The government's coming after him again. As the New York Times recently pointed out, Trump's rhetoric at his recent rallies is unlike anything else that has come before in American politics. Quote, no major American presidential candidate has talked like Trump now does at his rallies. Not Richard Nixon, not George Wallace, not even Donald Trump himself, end quote. Though the former president was already known for brash and controversial comments during his past campaigns and his past life, he has significantly escalated his rhetoric this time around as his legal troubles have piled up. Trump's promise to exact retribution and revenge upon a possible return to the White House is simply not normal political speech, and yet it has become a central tenet of his third presidential bid. Joining me now, big honor here, is Jen Psaki, host of MSNBC's Inside with Jen Psaki, former Biden White House press secretary and author of the incredible new book, Say More, Lessons from Work, the White House, and the World. My friend, thank you for joining us. Congratulations on the book, and I want to have a conversation about that with you entirely separately.
Well, and congratulations on your book. We're having the greatest crossover episode today, and I'm looking forward to talking to you about that a little bit later today, too.
And we love books. I mean, you just heard my conversation with Randy Weingarten. We love talking about this. We love the knowledge that people get because it allows kids to grow up in a world of critical thinking, which is something that we could use right now. Right? Yeah. Democracy depends on an informed electorate. And if the electorate were well enough informed, that Donald Trump's nonsensical Saturday night rallies might fall on deaf ears. I mean, he could probably learn a thing or two from your new book about how to be an effective communicator. But let's talk about what he's doing now, this escalation, the language he uses, the physical mocking of people. He's done that in the past with Chris Christie, with Marco Rubio. But he talks about immigrants as vermin. He talks about a bloodbath in terms of trade with China. What do you make of the specific, the vulgarity, the violence in the language that he has started to use?
Well, I mean, it's incredibly dangerous, increasingly dangerous. He also is making a bet it's effective, because this is the type of language, while it's become escalatory, as you just outlined, that he has used in the past. He has long attacked immigrants. He has long used language that is dangerous, that prompts the possibility of violence. He thinks this is what is going to appeal to his base, but perhaps beyond. That's also, just to echo something I just heard you say, Ali, it's why it's so important for us to talk about it, because we're not projecting something that we think he's thinking in his mind. He is saying this out loud, and it's important for people to understand and digest that he's telling us how he feels about groups of people in this country and projecting exactly what he would do in a second term.
And the projecting is done in great detail. There's a document out that you've talked a lot about on your show, Project 2025. Somebody tweeted the other day and said, why doesn't Ali Velshi read it like he reads the indictment? You know why I'm not reading it out loud? Because it's 877 pages. It is a remarkably detailed document about what exactly they are going to do if Donald Trump gets reelected again. People should read it, because then there will be no surprise if Donald Trump is the next president of the United States and all sorts of things suddenly change in the way government works. They wrote it down and they put it out there for you to read.
Exactly, and it's on the Heritage Foundation website, so anybody can read it. I mean, I do like the idea of an Ali Velshi voiced reading of it, of course, but you have a lot of things on your plate. I think that would be hard for you to do. But yes, it's out there for people to read. The specifics of the plan are out there for people to read. Trump also did an 83-minute interview with Time magazine just a week and a half ago, where he outlined exactly what he's going to do. So there's no secret here, to your point. We talk about it, you talk about it. It's important for people to digest and make their decisions about whether that's what they want.
Let's talk about, during the State of the Union address, President Biden vowed to, quote, restore Roe v. Wade as the law of the land again. What you and I have seen in election after election, regular elections, midterm elections, and special elections or referenda, is that this has succeeded. There are people who identify as conservatives and Republicans in this country who have said, do not take my rights away, even though they've been taken away in half the country. And Donald Trump and others are threatening to take abortion rights away for the rest of the country. How realistic? Clearly, it's working for Democrats to lean into this message. But how realistic is it that if Joe Biden is reelected, that something will actually be able to be done to protect reproductive rights for women across this country?
Well, you know, I think, one, he would be somebody who wouldn't sign an abortion ban, right? That's significant. It's making things less bad, of course. He would support, as he said many times, codifying Roe. Now, that takes the support of Congress. That's why it's also important for people to think about down-ticket races, if it's something they care deeply about. But I also think this is an issue, just interesting the politics of it, Ali, because the support for abortion rights has actually increased, right, since the overturning of Roe. And this reminds me in some ways of the Affordable Care Act. You remember, you covered it extensively when the Affordable Care Act was quite unpopular for Democrats, including Barack Obama when he was running for re-election and during midterm elections. But when all of a sudden it was about something being taken away, it became more popular and people rallied behind it. This is the case with abortion rights. Codifying Roe is not easy to do. You need the support from Congress. A president needs that, even if he's willing to sign it. But that's also why people need to focus on who they're voting for down ticket, if that's an issue they care deeply about.
And you know, what happened in Congress also became very interesting this last week, in that a number of Democrats agreed to get on board with stopping the eviction of Mike Johnson from the chair. I think Democrats voted for order, right? They voted for not having more chaos. But that was a tough pill for a lot of Democrats to swallow, given who Mike Johnson is, given how he reacted to the election of 2022, given his views on abortion, and more importantly, right after that, given comments that he made about putting in a law to make it illegal for undocumented immigrants to vote. Because I don't know about you, Jen, but I thought it was illegal for undocumented immigrants to vote.
Very much illegal. It's a very conspiracy theorist thing, and I have a whole takedown of this on my show in an hour, so tune in for that. But yes, I think the Democrats I've talked about this, because no question it's a tough pill to swallow for all of those reasons, is that he's better than the alternative. That's where we are, okay, in Congress right now. There could be crazier alternatives. He did take some steps to support pushing through funding and support for Ukraine, keeping the government open. So there is a functionality aspect here, but also they can still run against him and his policies. They don't want Mike Johnson to be the Speaker of the House in a year. They want Hakeem Jeffries to be the Speaker in the House in a year, right? So there's a couple of layers here, but it's certainly the most telling thing about it is that they think he's better than the alternatives, even given everything you just outlined.
Jen, let's take a quick break. When we come back on the other side, I want to talk about your brand new book, Say More, Lessons from Work, the White House, and the World. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
There are trucks, and then there's the GMC Sierra, available with the connected driving experience and the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Or get over $2,700 purchase cash on select 2024 Sierra 1500 models. Plus, current eligible GMC owners get an additional $2,000 purchase allowance. See, there are trucks, and then there's the GMC Sierra, available with the connected driving experience and the world's first 6-function multi-pro tailgate. GMC Sierra. It's the truck. Or get over $2,700 purchase cash on select 2024 Sierra 1500 models. Plus, current eligible GMC owners get an additional $2,000 purchase allowance. See your Northwest GMC dealer.
See, Home Quote Explorer lets you easily compare home insurance options so you can get what you need without overpaying.
Yeah, we spent a lot on this kitchen.
Oh, yeah, really high-end stuff.
Sorry, that's our ghost.
Yeah, okay.
It's more annoying than anything.
Too bad there's mold behind the backsplash. Yep, there's mold.
Well then, let's see if we can save you some money with Progressive.
Guess how much I originally paid for this fireplace? $23. Materials and labor.
Just ignore him.
You got bamboozled.
Rich, indulgent chocolate with a luscious caramel filling. Discover Ghirardelli caramel squares in a bag and a bar. Makes life a bite better.
Home Goods. Go finding.
As loved members of our family, we want our cats to be happy. But when they spray outside the litter box, fight with other house cats, or scratch the furniture, they could be telling you they're stressed. To help them feel more calm, plug in Feel Away Optimum. The relaxing pheromones of Feel Away Optimum help your cat feel more comfortable and secure at home. Feel Away Optimum, enhanced calming for cats, from the #1 vet-recommended brand for feline calming. Available at pet stores or ask your vet.
We're looking for adults 45 and under to be in our HPV vaccination ad. Sound like you?
Not me. In a relationship.
If you're sexually active and unvaccinated, it could still be you.
I'm too old.
If you're under 45, you're not. For most people, HPV clears on its own, but for those who don't clear the virus, it can cause certain cancers.
Wow.
Gardasil 9 doesn't protect everyone and doesn't treat cancer or HPV